Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Press Break podcast with our special edition bracket episode. I'm Chelsea, we got Tyler, and we got Jamie, who is in a hotel room because she is in South Bend, Indiana, with her completely non-biased attire going on right now.
I really like the big chair choice.
Yeah.
It feels like
and you're on
regal.
an angle. It's giving like documentary.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I'm by the window so you can see my face for those on video without just extreme harsh hotel room lighting.
Light? Yeah.
And this is the angle that worked to then scoot the desk over, and this is the armchair that was in the corner of the room. But it all came together like I really handpicked all of it. And as far as unbiased attire, let's just make one thing clear. I have a career where I can be, I think, pretty unbiased in all but one team's case. And so look, they're paying me. So
there we go.
I'll be doing it without a career sometimes.
Yeah,
so
exactly. I'm over here crocheting a Michigan.
You'll see that when I finally publish my bracket too. I have some contractual obligations. Okay.
Of brackets. Okay, yes. So if you're watching this, our bracket challenge group has already launched. So we decided to host a free and open to the public bracket group so that you can go head to head with other listeners for the Women's March Madness bracket. Mostly just, if you've never done a bracket before, it's a good place to learn, low risk. Bragging rights will reward at the end, and the three of us are going to be in it, and a bunch of the other Her Hoop Stats staff members. So join us on that. The link to the ESPN bracket challenge will be below to our group, so that you can put your bracket in our group. And
almost 40 in there already.
Yeah, we have like almost 40, which is really fun.
Love it.
So I'm excited to see if any of us are able to win, if any of you are able to win. I'm curious. We should do something fun. We can talk about this after, but like the which one of us gets the highest. We should have to do something. We'll see. We'll get into that. But for now, we're going to get into, for this episode, just talking a little bit about our brackets, our tournament predictions, and a few other general things that we can get into for now before the tournament starts. And then, of course, in the next few weeks, we'll have more detailed analysis as the tournament goes on. But right now, it's just kind of in the beginning madness of it all, where there's so many teams, so many matchups to think about, and you can't go too far into the future because, again, who knows what could happen. So we're going to start with a very far-fetched who we think is going to the Final Four. Final Four is happening in Tampa. So far, the four top seeds are USC, Texas, South Carolina, and UCLA. But I'm curious, we'll start with Jamie, if you think that there could be any surprises in that Final Four.
Yeah, I mean, it's not super common to go really chalk as far as one seeds go, but as far as women's basketball goes, like we still haven't seen one of those like true Cinderella stories that we've seen on the men's side. I think it's coming. I do think that it's in play soon. I don't know if soon is this year necessarily. I definitely have South Carolina coming out of Birmingham too. I think that Spokane 4 has been highlighted a lot as a potential really, really wild Elite Eight matchup, as that would be USC versus UConn. And that one is obviously tough to predict there with the way USC has been playing as of late, with the way that UConn has really come on, and obviously already having seen them this year. I do have UConn coming out of Spokane 4, going up to Spokane 1. It's looking really chalky so far because I do also have UCLA coming out of Spokane 1. I like NC State a lot. I just think, especially if that's the Elite Eight matchup, is UCLA and NC State. I don't know that I see NC State quite having the guns to take them down there. And LSU obviously is, for a lot of reasons, kind of a trendy upset pick. And even if they weren't upset, if LSU were instead the team playing UCLA, I think that UCLA would have the advantage there as well. I've seen a lot of people discussing Birmingham 3 as potentially the most interesting region of the tournament. Obviously, I've been really focused on that section of the bracket, and I don't necessarily disagree. But I think there's a lot of really interesting, really compelling matchups there. Here's my disclaimer. I can't go on and I can't pick against Iowa State ever in anything. So I'll say that gives you my Cyclone pick all the way. But just as far as like a not making a pick one way or the other, but my thoughts on the region, I do think that there are a lot of points to sort of the discourse I've seen about Texas, about their weaknesses, about their potential to be upset. And then you've also got TCU in the mix. And, you know, they have a lot of really big strengths. They have a lot of balance, but they also play a really slow paced game. So that's the region where I think that the top seeds have some of the greatest weaknesses to exploit. So that's one where I think that's going to be kind of a separator, especially for things like brackets, because that one by far to me is the biggest question mark. The others have like probably a top candidate, maybe two, maybe even three candidates, but that one is a lot more open.
Yeah, and I've already had a few people ask me about what they're calling the like Jamie and Chelsea off of that side of the bracket. If ISU is able to win their first four match,
I didn't even think about that.
They play Michigan, and I've already had
Press
people
Break
in my
Ladies Bowl.
replies. Yeah, the Press Break Ladies Bowl. We have Michigan versus ISU. Hopefully, I'm pulling for ISU to win their first game so that we can get that, and then Jamie can just talk about Silas Swords on the call, and it'll be great. I will say, if that game ends up happening, I will be listening to Jamie's broadcast because we gotta. It's all love, regardless of who wins. As much as I would be going for Michigan in that case, the Ladies Bowl would be entertaining, but. Yes, we have thought about it. We have talked about it. And no matter what happens, we will still be friends after. We're good.
And I'll be here to instigate. And I'll be here to instigate. So
and then Tyler's just going to stir the pot. So that's a fun matchup, I think, coming out of that side of the bracket as well. And that is the side of the bracket that I think is probably going to cause us the most upset when you think about like seed order and certain matchups. I mean, Texas has to play Creighton, who's if Creighton and Illinois, I have Creighton going to the second round. And Creighton could beat Texas. Like that wouldn't be the biggest shock we've ever seen. Creighton's a really tough team. They had that, Cinderella kind of run. I think it was in 2021 or 2022.
They sure did.
They sure did. Jamie knows that one. Who they beat? I don't know. So who didn't they beat? But that's a matchup that like a one seed could be taken out in the second round, and then then they could face Tennessee or Ohio State, Texas if they make it to the Sweet 16. And then on the lower half of the bracket, you have Notre Dame as well, who again, like if they beat their first round, they could go up against either Michigan or ISU or Princeton, and that's a hard matchup too. Like all three of those teams are really gritty and can have players that can make an impact. And for me, like not to fly my little flag here for a second.
Don't act like you're like you don't want to do it. Don't act like you don't.
Just
so sorry, y'all. Just do it. Just do it.
But like Michigan was able to compete against USC like in a way that like that USC is a one seed, and so if Notre Dame is playing the same, we talked about it last week about how there's concerns going into their tournament. And so there's someone who could be knocked off early as well. And then you have TCU. I mean, there's the Haley Van Lith Bowl that could happen with Louisville and TCU as well. So it's a very intriguing corner of the bracket. But in terms of Final Four in my, like before we hop to Tyler, like I am so conflicted on so many things. Like USC and UConn, like there's the juju factor, there's Paige Beckers, there's the fact that USC has looked very dominant against teams that have a lot of size, but oftentimes, as we saw in the Big Ten final, sometimes if Juju's not 100% like on her game, sometimes their kind of system falls apart. And then on the other side, I mean, I have South Carolina coming out. Obviously, I think all three of us can agree on that they'll probably come out of that side of the bracket. But then on UCLA's side, you have Baylor that's intriguing. You have Florida State. We all know Tanaya Latson is a huge player that can make an impact. You have NC State, who has shown up really big, but also has had times where they've been beat. So that side of the bracket is very interesting too. So Tyler, what do you think about all these thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I also have South Carolina. I mean, I know that that Don wasn't totally happy about not having the number 1 overall seed, but that's the far and away easiest region. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think that's even remotely close. And so like South Carolina will be in Tampa Bay. I also have UCLA. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I don't have NC State in my Sweet 16. So my brain for my bracket was really stuck in the middle of like logic and like the chaos that I want to see, you know. And so I have in my, you know, I won't spoil who I have in my Sweet 16 over there yet, but I have
Don't
LSU
sign
and
up for the bracket
UCLA.
challenge to go
You
look at his
know,
bracket.
I got UCLA and LSU. I tell you, I have LSU in my bracket right now, but like, what percentage of their stars are we getting? You know,
Yeah.
obviously both Flau'jae and Anissa Moore have been dealing with injuries. They were both in boots when we saw them when they got revealed on the bracket. If Florida State gets past LSU and builds momentum, they have a chance to be a very, very interesting team. Now, I think I say all that to say I don't think that any team in this is getting past UCLA. I don't see a Lauren Betts matchup anywhere across this entire region. And so like just on the basis of that, I have UCLA in mind. So UCLA, South Carolina. I have USC UConn in the Elite Eight. I mean, it's kind of hard not to, frankly. Even over Oklahoma. And I have UConn in mind as of now. I don't think I could handle another Battle of LA. And having to pick that on my bracket because I feel like
your bracket would just end there.
No, literally, it would just implode. Like the website would just shut down as soon as someone like hovered above that matchup. I have UConn there. And for my last pick, I'm not gonna lie, I have Notre Dame, and I get it. I completely understand what has gone on recently. But frankly, I have Texas getting eliminated by whoever wins, whoever is there from Ohio State and Tennessee.
Yeah.
And so I think that Notre Dame will be facing a 4 or 5 in that. TCU is just a team that like obviously they beat Notre Dame, so like you can't like completely discredit like they've done it, you know. I feel like Notre Dame. My hope is when picking them this deep into my bracket is that they saw that number 3 seed pop up, and they should feel disgusted. They should feel like, frankly, I don't know how else to put this. They should feel awful about themselves, but in a way that is like, we're better than this. Like, because we know they are. Like, we've seen it, you know? And I'm hoping that the rest from, you know, obviously they would rather have gone deep into the ACC tournament, but the rest of getting eliminated a little bit earlier, you have like this kind of even though I think that they ended up earning a 3 seed, like I don't have any problems with them being a 3 seed, but like from an internal perspective and the way, you know, coaches and players and athletes in general love to like earn disrespect and manufacture disrespect almost, they should feel disrespected by this, that this is where they're at. They've beaten Texas in this bracket. You know, like they're the number 1 seed in this region. They beat, you know, that USC team. They went to USC and beat. So like them at their best is absolutely a Final Four team in this, and in a bracket that has so much chaos. I frankly only think this bracket has chaos because we don't know what Notre Dame we're getting. If we knew we were getting best Notre Dame, everyone would be picking Notre Dame in this bracket. Like that's kind of where I'm at with it. So I'm banking on them kind of coming back to their senses in that way, and getting back to their best selves and kind of getting a little bit of time to relax. Like I know like Hannah Hidalgo went home and visited family like over this time period. Like, and I'm sure like plenty of players got that chance to reset in that way. And some of the faces I saw, like I saw a tweet with like kind of screenshots of each individual player's faces when their name popped up, and they looked mad, and they should be mad at themselves, like disappointed in themselves. And that can kind of go either way, you know, like, you know, it can, you don't want to try too hard and force things, but if you can internalize that in the positive way, that can boost you right back to where you were. So I'm banking on Notre Dame in that. So my Final Four is currently, and Lord knows where it'll be by the time the actual bracket's finalized, but currently it's UCLA, UConn, South Carolina, Notre Dame.
Yeah, that's fair. And I mean, flipping to the other side of this coin, as Tyler, we love a coin on this podcast. Cinderella stories. I mean, like Jamie said, we haven't had like a true Cinderella story in the sense that like the team ends up winning the tournament in the end or getting to the final of the tournament in the end. But I'm curious if either of you have like a sleeper Cinderella story kind of team. Either go. You're chuckling.
Well, you're not gonna believe who I have in my Elite Eight.
I'm so shocking. Who?
Let's talk about Vanderbilt. Okay, let's talk.
We're like the poster children for Vanderbilt women's basketball.
Look, hear me out.
Vanderbilt got to get us flued out. Come on.
They do.
I just feel like I'm about to make an enemy out of the entire state of North Carolina. It's really what this is. Because I have Vanderbilt beating Duke, I have Vanderbilt beating North Carolina, and I have Michigan State beating NC State in my bracket right now.
No.
I'm not going to lie. I don't know what it is. I don't know what kind of possessed me in this bracket. But, like, if I was, like, to rank the hierarchy of, like, where I feel, like, ACC teams, like in how deep they can go, obviously Notre Dame's in my Final Four, so, like, I have them kind of at the top part. But Florida State would probably be my second highest team. And I don't – that's just what I don't know if there's a disconnect between heart and brain in this, but, like, that's where I'm at. Like, I feel like the North Carolina teams, I think North Carolina specifically could use a little break. They've been banged up. But Duke and NC State, I feel like, are teams that would have wanted just to keep playing and to kind of just keep going, especially Duke with the way that they were rolling offensively. I mean, look, you got two players in Camille Pierre and Michaela Blakes that can go and win you games. You can win games because you have either of those players on your roster. And being able to have two of those players as a lower seed is insane, right? And to have that, so that's a team that I'm kind of looking at that way. I honestly like those were like my two like big picks. Because I even picked like with Florida State, I picked LSU again to go to my Elite Eight. But like if that's under the assumption that like LSU was going to be healthy. Like I could see Florida State like making it to the Elite Eight in that way. But I think a healthy LSU probably beats Florida State still. But yeah, I mean, what a surprise! Look, I've been, and the Iowa pick was like, I mean, that's another team I've been pushing for this whole year. And that was another one I was eyeing, but I was like, I'm gonna be there. Like it's it's Oklahoma. I couldn't do it. I just couldn't. So Vanderbilt is in my Elite Eight. Michigan State in my Sweet 16. Those are kind of my two Cinderella stories of sorts.
Yeah, and I mean, Michigan State has some ballers. Like Theron Halleck can.
It's really dependent on what NC State you get. If you get first half NC State against Duke, like they should beat Michigan State.
Yeah. But
that second half NC State performance, like that's a team that Michigan State can out tough and make things kind of muck up the game a little bit in my eyes. And you have players in Michigan State that can just go and get you buckets, like when you need them and can just be tough. So like it really is just dependent to me on what version of NC State we get on that day. And that pick is the idea that Michigan State can kind of knock them off rhythm, knock them off their game. And I think Michigan State is a team that can both do that and capitalize off it when they're able to do that.
Yeah, for sure. Jamie, what do you think about Cinderellas?
Man, I mean, there's a lot of really, really interesting matchups. I think one that, see, this is going to make me seem like a hater. And I need people to understand that I watch a lot of Missouri Valley basketball.
There it is. There it is.
Murray State is so good. Murray State is legitimately very, very good. And the thing with them is that they have great perimeter scoring and a great perimeter scorer in Hallie Polk. They have a 3,000-point scorer in Caitlin Young, who does it inside, stretches it outside, will take you to the rim, will back you down. Like, I think that I'm not necessarily saying that this is like stamp it, that they would take down Iowa, but I'm saying that I think that is a sneaky,
It'd be
sneaky
fun.
good matchup
Mhm.
in the first round of the tournament. Beyond that, again, you talk about teams that I see a lot of. West Virginia, I think, has a lot of potential there. I think that for a West Virginia team to, first of all, get a team that has already played a play-in game,
Mhm.
that is a tough, tough draw for either Columbia or Washington. To then have to play against the pace of West Virginia. And then you're setting up a potential matchup with a North Carolina team, assuming they get past Oregon, or excuse me, Oregon State,
Queen State, yeah.
that is a very similar archetype in that they are very defensive oriented, but they do not play with the pace
Not at all.
that West Virginia has.
Yeah.
And so I think that that one has maybe some of the best potential for a hosting team to get upset. That being said, there's a lot of that going around because
There
I
is.
think that Alabama, Maryland is a massive game in the second round. I think we all saw Coach Yo's face when Ole Miss was a 5 seed. And so them and Baylor is major, especially a Baylor team that's been banged up at times. They've been playing their best basketball this season, but they've been banged up.
Sure.
So how do you square that? Especially when you go deep in the Big 12 tournament, so you don't have quite as much of that recovery time. I've been hearing Dariana Littlepage Bugs is back, but at what level?
Yep.
Which brings me to my final team, which is K-State.
I don't know what to do with them.
Look, what I said to my broadcast partner is they're saying that Ayoka Lee will be close to 100%. That is the direct quote. I said maybe close to her 100%, but at this point,
it's not.
Again, I am a massive Ayoka Lee fan, but her 100% at this point is a lot of people's like 20%. Like that's just the way it is. Like she has gone through so many injuries, she has gone through so many surgeries, she has been out for so long that her highest level of capability, at least at this moment in time, is not.
I don't think anyone could be 100% before playing a game.
Yeah,
like you have to like. I feel like there's no substitute for in-game minutes, and so like to come back after an extended time.
With that, when you are going up against a Fairfield team that knows how to win and that isn't just single star driven, which K-State is not either, but outside of Ayoka Lee, which they do not have a great matchup for, I think that Fairfield matches up great with Kansas
It's
State.
truly just a matter if they can spam Ayoka or not, to be honest. And
exactly.
Like what level it is.
That one I think is almost as dependent on one player as any matchup in the first round. And that one I'm really watching closely.
I definitely agree. Fairfield is one that could sneak up. My kind of like first Cinderella potential is Florida State. I don't think either of you are going to be surprised by that one.
No,
like Tanaya Latson and that whole team, that game against North Carolina in the during the regular season was just like proof of how one, you can come out in a big game and like come out on top, and like the pressure. I think one thing about March Madness that people need to keep in mind is like what teams can face that pressure, face that, late game close situation, who can be clutch. And it's those players like the Michaela Blakes, Camille Pierre's, Tanaya Latsons, and like obviously all the high like ranking stars that we know. Those are the players that can do that. And so you have to think of that factor when you're talking about potential upsets, because as much as seeding kind of comes into play, there's so many situations that we see in March where the game is close regardless of the seed. Like it just doesn't matter. And they have the benefit too of, they play George Mason and then they go and play LSU. And again, we don't know who's going to be healthy on LSU. We don't know if even like if Flaugier plays, if she's going to be 100%. so that is an interesting one. And then obviously my other upset Cinderella team, which nobody is going to be absolutely shocked by. See, look at their faces. They know it's coming. Michigan. Um, wow, we're all shocked. Yeah,
Very,
so shocked. Um,
very.
but yeah, I mean, again, like Jamie said, they're getting a team first who has been through another matchup already, so you have that advantage. Then they potentially play Notre Dame again. They could kind of come out and take advantage of those, you know, factors that Notre Dame has been struggling with this month. And then you get TCU, which I mean, I just I haven't decided who I have, Michigan or Notre Dame yet. I do think that Michigan has the potential. I don't know if I'm gonna go as far as to pick it, because I haven't locked in my bracket yet. But I mean, regardless, we'll see. I do have either Notre Dame or whoever comes out of the top half of the bracket coming out of that region. So yeah, I mean, I would love to see another like fun Cinderella run. I think it makes March Madness really exciting and really fun. And
Yeah.
for those programs, it like helps to shine a light on their program and their players
Yeah.
as well. So I mean,
Also, there's more chance for money too. Like now,
exactly.
like with the rule change, like honestly, like when you look at like a team that could, maybe like a whether it be obviously a mid-major team if they were able to make a run, but like as you stack up these runs, like you can even if you're like a power four, like maybe like a mid-level to lower level power four team, and you're in this bracket, you're able to rack up a couple wins.
Yeah.
Like I don't think it's like an over exaggeration to say like whether it's the money or just the belief in your program is game changing. Like it could complete it could be program
Exposure,
changing.
yeah.
Like it's like I mean there's so much that can happen, with just a couple wins and when it comes to a program. So like I mean, and you look at a program like I think of Florida State is kind of a good
Mhm.
example of like we know that they're a very good team, but like they haven't really been able to like kind of get over that hump like into like the super high upper echelon of the ACC. They haven't really been able to. I don't think they've hosted when during Tanaya Latson's time at Florida State. I don't
I don't
think
think
they've
so.
always kind of been in like that 5, 6, 7 range.
Yeah.
I want to say so. Like, but you go and beat LSU on the road. That's program changing, like those. So like those are the type of like when I'm thinking of Cinderellas here, like especially just really, kind of to Jamie's point, we haven't really had like a super deep Cinderella team. So like the standard for like Cinderella teams in women's basketball compared to men's basketball, I think is kind of just a different way in that manner. I would love to see some chaos where we got one like into the Final Four. That'd be awesome. But like
No,
we just haven't seen that yet. So like that's honestly what I'm looking for is like when it comes to these runs is like who can change their program overnight, with the win over a 1 seed or a 2 seed, or something major like that. So that's what I'll be kind of excited and even at the expense of my bracket, crossing my fingers for.
Yeah, and I mean, with the transfer portal now, it makes such a big difference too, because if you
Absolutely.
have a big run in the tournament and then you become like a transfer portal
Absolutely.
hotspot, that changes your program. So yeah, I definitely agree with what you're saying. And I mean, to switch the conversation a little bit into players, like,
Mhm.
let's talk about players to watch. I mean, there's a few obvious ones, especially going into the WNBA draft. And we've talked about a few of like Tanaya Latson, Michaela Blakes,
Mhm.
et cetera, who we think are going to shine. But I know you two have a lot of in-depth knowledge of these specific players. So, do you have any players that like, if the listeners are watching, this is their first March Madness
Mhm.
experience, who are you watching or keeping your eye on?
Yeah. I know for me, I'll tell you, I like I mentioned, I picked Michigan State to
Mm,
to go through, but goodness gracious, Harvard's Harmony Turner made that a tough pick. She's so good. I
yeah.
mean, can drop 40 on any given night, like truly. And that is the player that like uh can take you on a tournament run. Like if she just gets on a heater, like there's not many teams that can just stop Harmony Turner. Like she's that good, and I think it's just purely been the only reason she's not like a All American like she's an All American level player. And she hasn't. I think it's mostly just Ivy League disrespect, to be honest, because it's not an individual thing. Even though the Ivy got 3 players in here, so Harmony Turner is a player that I'm looking at just to see what she can do. And I'll say just to add one more, Staley Hurd from Oklahoma State is just such a fun player, but like is also a player that again we've kind of talked, we've mentioned it several times. I don't know what to do with Oklahoma State. I
Yeah.
don't, because again sometimes they just decide that they're not going to miss and they just go crazy. And Staley Hurd is the one that's leading the charge whenever that happens. And so
Yeah.
when you see that potential round of 32 matchup with UConn, I'm not out here saying that they're going to go and beat UConn, but is there a world where Oklahoma State just randomly catches fire and Staley Hurd goes and does ridiculous things and gets to the free throw line a lot and potentially gets UConn in foul trouble? There's a world. I'm doing like the Doctor Strange, seeing all the possibilities. There's a world. It's not the world in my bracket, but there's a world. and if that happened, that would be Staley Hurd leading that way. I mean, just one of the most underrated, like a sophomore that didn't get like put into the conversation last year. I mean, there were so many across the nation that didn't get put into like the conversation with the Jujus, the Hannahs, Madison Bookers from last year because the standard and the bar was so incredibly high last year. But I mean, Staley Hurd is a like in another year is like a freshman of the year caliber player from last season that has continued that into this season. So a player that I'm really excited to see get tournament time and potentially play UConn in I don't want to look past South Dakota State because I don't want to ever see South Dakota State in March. I never want. That is a team that
True.
I never want to see. So I'm certainly not looking past them, but the potential of a matchup with UConn and seeing her against some other top tier players in that way and getting on that stage would be super fun. So those are the two that I'm looking at potentially being able to carry their teams into some big time wins.
Yeah, Jamie, what are your players to watch?
I have a fun stat for you guys that is going to include a couple of players, and then I'll get into my specific highlights. But this was actually prompted by my dad. Thank you, Dad. Shout out Ed.
Ed.
There are two teams in the country that have a pair of 40-point scorers that have done it alongside each other. So there's teams where players have transferred in. For instance, USC. Kiki had a 40-point game at Stanford. She did not do it alongside Juju. The two teams in the country that have players that have scored 40 points alongside each other. Can you guess?
But one is
Vanderbilt, I think, is one.
Mm-hmm.
Vanderbilt is
did Addie ever have 40?
Addie just had 40.
I was about to say, I think she did. I was trying to remember. I was like, did she get all the way up there?
She did. She got to 41.
Yes, I remember that was a few weeks ago. Yeah.
You've got and the crazy thing is that without any like age breakdowns on it, it is just that there's only these two young duos in the country, a freshman and a sophomore and two sophomores. So Michaela Blakes and Camille Pierre, as we said, at Vandy, so fun, so exciting. And then for my Cyclones, you've got Audie Crooks, who obviously jumped onto the stage in a huge way with her 40-piece last year against Maryland. And then Addie Brown, I mean, she just has the ability to turn it on to a degree that I don't think a lot of people really recognize. Another sophomore that just has this upside that is maybe not consistently shown, I think, because of the fact that she is such an unselfish player. She's very deferential in some ways where she wants to pass. Like, literally, she had the chance to break Iowa State's all-time single-game scoring record, which she didn't realize, obviously. But she's got wide open lanes to the basket, and I'm watching her kick it because I think she probably just wanted some more assists. Like, she just wants to pass the ball. God bless her. I love her. She's very like Bridget Carlson coded. Like, it's an incredible, like, I know she's talked to Bridget. Like, it's very cool to have a couple of those players come through Iowa State. But those are obviously really fun duos. And then someone that, just to pull off of a team I mentioned, that would be a really key player for them. For Fairfield, Megan Anderson, I think, is a matchup problem in, frankly, a lot of similar ways as Addie Brown. She's another sophomore. She has terrific just versatility where she'll go to the rim, she'll drive from the perimeter, she'll post up. Like, they call them their road runners at Fairfield. They really like to keep the ball moving really fast, and that can be a very, very difficult style to play against, especially a sort of short-handed Kansas State squad where, not even accounting for Aoka Lee, they already have a really short bench. And so I can certainly see her having a really solid game there. So really fascinated with those. Then obviously I mentioned a couple names from Murray State. with Caitlin Young, with Hallie Pope. But yeah, oh my gosh, there's so many. And that'll be, I think, a fun exercise to do next week as well when things start narrowing down into 16 teams where there'll hopefully be a couple surprises in there, and then we can highlight some of those players. But right now, it's just like I'm so excited to see the storylines we get because obviously I saw one of them firsthand where literally after the game, I'm sitting there next to Audie. I'm like, yeah, like everything just changed. Like, this
that was
is
crazy last year. There's going to be a player that experiences that at some point in this tournament, and we don't know who yet.
That's what we see, and it's just exciting to see once it does happen because there's really no way to predict it. But I do think that there's a good chance that when it happens, it'll be someone we might have mentioned before. Because, we'll go digging for some of those. But I love it. I'm so excited.
Yeah, definitely agree. I mean, my player to watch, I'm gonna go with Avery Howell because another like Bridget Carlton coded player where she's able to come, into games, is great at shooting and just like has the ability to make these little impact, plays and both on the defensive end and on offense, where she just kind of like impacts the game on those little but very fundamental levels. Like thinking into the Big Ten tournament, like she came in, scored back-to-back 3-pointers to help USC win one of their games. She started in her very first college game in the ACC tournament because one of the other players was out sick. And so she's just kind of been like called up in these moments that USC really needs her. And I think because she's another one of those players who has like national team camp experience, she played with Canada for their, I have to wait for gotta get the moment in. She played with them for their exhibition games ahead of the Olympics, but didn't end up making the final Olympic roster. So she spent a lot of time with the team, and got to learn from players like Sammy Hill, who is playing in Europe and Spain. Another one of those shooting kind of players who, is really fast, can defend, stuff like that. Spent a lot of time with Silas Swords, of course, and then got a little bit of time with the WNBA players, Kia, Bridget, etc. So I think she has a lot of unique experience in that, right? And then she's in USC where her role is just to come in, make an immediate impact in however many minutes she gets. And so I do think she could have the potential to make a few of those big moments for USC when they need them. So yeah, she's my player to watch. And I do think we've kind of hit on like players that they may not know, but we'll know before the tourney ends. And I do think that like as we get forward, we were kind of talking about like draft prospects before we started recording. And I think that's something to be talked about like in a future.
Yeah.
Because we're amped for the beginning.
We can't burn everything out already. We got a long ways to go.
So my last like thing before we end today is just going to be first round starts on Friday. We have Friday and Saturday, which is the round of 64. Which game are you most excited for?
Hey, we've got games on Wednesday and Thursday.
Come on now, Chelsea. Come on.
Sorry. The first round. I said specifically the first round. The first 4 starts on Thursday. Jamie's going to be in action on Thursday. Wednesday. Geez, why can't I get my day straight? This is why there's just so much basketball stuff going on that I don't know what day it is now. I don't know what day it's happening. Unrivaled ended last night. The WNBA is still trading. We got women's basketball brackets going on.
Oh my god, I know.
There's too much. So anyway, Wednesday's the first 4. Friday the first round starts. Going into the first round, what is a game that you will be tuned into no matter what? If it's your team, if it's whatever. Jamie, you go first.
I think that Kansas State Fairfield is my big one, with the honorable mention to Murray State, Iowa. Just those mid-major teams that win the conference tournaments, like they come in knowing how to win. And this year, I think there's a lot of potential there. Those are a couple of very exciting teams to watch for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Tyler, who you got?
I kind of looking at like this whole like Maryland pod of games, the Alabama, Green Bay, Maryland, Norfolk State, especially the Norfolk State game. I mean, Mimi Wheeler and Diamond Johnson are both very, very good. I mean, this is like Maryland has obviously had their injuries, and like it's kind of hard to know exactly like what to do with Maryland, and like so that is like an underrated pod, like where we could see a ton of chaos. Green Bay is a very solid team, and like Norfolk State like actually lost to both Green Bay and Alabama during the season. Green Bay just barely, Alabama on the road by 10. Like
Wow.
so like if you get past Maryland, you're immediately into a revenge game. It's like, I mean, and that's obviously a big if you get past Maryland, but you want to talk about players that have the ability to do so. I mean, there's several of just these like lower seeded teams that like have genuine star power or have been genuinely so successful. I mean, like Grand Canyon Baylor is another one. Obviously, Molly Miller's name is everywhere. It seems like when it comes to these open like Power Four searches, especially like in the SEC and whatnot. Like,
Yep.
what do they got? You know, for a Baylor team that has, to Jamie's point earlier, has been playing really good basketball recently, but has also been banged up. Like there's a lot of like, I'm looking at kind of like the teams that like the higher seeds that have been a little bit banged up that are also playing against really good, you know, 13s, 12s, like those those type of matchups are the one I'm interested in, just from the pure perspective of potential upsets in that way. But I think Maryland Norfolk State for that, in that kind of frame of mind, is the one that stands out the most, and I'm excited about.
And they work. Like they played Stanford last year in our regional. And
Oh, yeah.
first of all, it's very obvious like why they've taken a big jump up in their seating this year. But they are just they play so hard. And anyone that's watched them play this year, which hopefully, you know, their games are pretty accessible. If you've seen Norfolk State play, they are, oh my gosh, they just work so hard. So they're certainly one that is a really fun sort of team to watch. It kind of goes right in with my little group that I picked, and that's going to be right alongside the ones that I like. I'm tuned in. Like I love those games.
I'm gonna have so many screens up. I'm looking at them in the bat cave. Like I can't wait.
The one that I'm gonna highlight, and we kind of talked about it a bit earlier, but Michigan State Harvard is gonna be a fun one.
Yeah.
Harmony Turner, and then Michigan State has a few ballers. That one's gonna be, again, another potential to possibly upset. I mean, it's a closer to 7 to 10 seed game, but Harvard has just looked incredible. They looked great in the Ivy League. Harmony Turner, like we've said,
went on a tear in their tournament.
Went on a tear. And so that's the one I'm definitely looking forward to, and gonna watch. It's definitely intriguing to see how this weekend is gonna go. And it's the sweet spot of the first few weeks of this tournament, the first few rounds, where it's like morning to night basketball all day for like 5 days straight. So that's going to be very exciting. But if you haven't signed up for our ESPN Tournament Bracket Challenge, head to the link. It should be down below in the description of wherever you're watching or listening to this. Make sure to get your bracket in, I believe, by, I think, Thursday. They have a countdown on ESPN. So
it should be Thursday.
Yeah, I think it's Thursday. So make sure to lock in your bracket before then. Sign up for the group to make sure you're in the leaderboard. We will be back next week with some first round recap. I mean, second round look ahead.
We made it.
Yeah, it's going to be wild. Tune in next week. Make sure to follow us on our social medias, the Her Hoop Stats podcast page, as well as the Her Hoop Stats YouTube channel. And then make sure to follow Her Hoop Stats on all of the social medias, Blue Sky X, etc., because we have so many great people who are going to be either there covering the events, or, you know, just making sure to stay updated in terms of writing and articles and reporting and all of that. So make sure to check that out. But until next week, we will see you soon. Thanks for watching the press break. We'll see you later.